This is the Final Word Daily. Jeff Lemon and Adam Collins.
Hello.
We are in the middle of Indore. We're also in the middle of a political rally, which is happening over there. We're in the middle of a roundabout, so hence all the traffic and the horns. It's going to be an extremely noisy final word, but that's the vibe. We thought we'd head out into the streets of Indore and see what's to be seen. We've got a lot of cricket things to talk about, but first, where are we? What's happening?
Well, we're in the middle of Indore, so the palace of the Holkar people that was built in the 18th century and has existed for, I guess going on 3 centuries. It got burnt down in the 19th century, parts of it rebuilt. It suffered damage from riots in the 1980s, and it continues to be a focal point here right in the middle of the bazaar. As you said, there's a political rally going on to our left, which is a video link back to, I'm not quite sure what it's all about, but nevertheless it's clearly a bit of a thing. Because we're in the middle of the market and the bazaar as well, all of the preparations for Holi are in full swing, so we'll go and do some of that ourselves. We're off to Ahmedabad tomorrow, so we'll be in Ahmedabad for Holi in a couple of days, the day before the 4th
Which
Test
will
match.
Basically be a political rally in itself.
It will,
we've
yes.
Got the Indian Prime Minister and the Australian Prime Minister meeting hands across the oceans in Ahmedabad. They're doing it on day one, which is smart because at least you know there'll be a Test match on day one.
Well, that's true. The Australian Prime Minister's only going to be there until roughly lunch on the first day before Anthony Albanese.
Third session, so third innings. He'll get
3 innings in before lunch. That's right. But no, he's over here doing his first state visit with the Indian Prime Minister Modi. They've met a number of times, including at the Quad meetings, but this is a significant event in terms of the government here locally. They're expecting 85,000 people to be packed in as part of that. Who knows how long they'll be at the cricket for, but 130,000 capacity day one, or at least the first morning. There's going to be a lot of people in there. So being the day after Holi, it's going to be a significant week for us to observe and basically provide journalism on.
And we've got the cricket going into the 4th Test match. It's 2-1. I've been kind of entertained, some of you in the comments have been contributing to this, by just how mad a lot of Indian supporters have got about losing 1 Test match. Like, this is a team that in the last 20 years has played 87 home tests, won 57, drawn 21, lost 9. Like, they don't lose at home pretty much ever. It's so occasional, and yet what I've been reading is spinners are no good, batting's no good. We're going to get pumped by Australia twice in a row, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think, and it's all been about the pitch. Should they be playing on a turning pitch? Should they be playing on a flat pitch? What we've seen from that last 20 years is that whatever surface India roll out, they win on it. It doesn't matter what it is, they win.
Yeah, I think culturally, there used to be an old joke that did the rounds in the 90s that when the Australian team lose, we go, we never liked them anyway, we never really cared anyway. Bloody useless. Here when they lose, it's crisis. It's, as you say, I saw a number of comments in response to a tweet of mine saying that Ashwin's no good. Ashwin's no good. Ashwin might be the best spinner I've seen in my lifetime.
He's going to get 500 wickets in probably a couple of weeks.
And I'm not saying this is the consensus view, but it's sort of the lightning rod kind of effect, isn't it? That when there's a poor performance, rare as it is, they've lost 3 Test matches in India out of their last 45, going back to when England won a series here in 2012. Provided India don't lose at Ahmedabad this week, it'll be 16 home series in a row. So growing up, Jeff, as kids,
it'll already be an unbeaten home series. They will still have only lost 1, even if they lose.
They've actually won the last 16. So the idea that, I mean, when we were growing up in Australia, it was very rare for the Aussie Test team to lose from 92, 93 onwards. They didn't lose a series at home until 2008, 2009 against South Africa. So it's a really long stretch of time when they were the number 1 side in the world. And there was that sense of dominance, even at the Gabba, which led until 2021 when India won there famously, a magnificent chase on the last day of the series to win that 2-1. Over here, it's next level. I mean, to win a series here is nigh on impossible. So you are permitted to drop a Test match. India didn't have a good Test. I saw Sanjay Manjrekar in the press saying they might have been hungover from their success at Nagpur and Delhi. Like maybe
they had a
implicitly,
9-day break. That's a hell of a hangover.
Well, I guess maybe implicitly when you've already wrapped up the Border-Gavaskar Trophy in the space of 5 days, it was the quickest retention of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy ever. So let's keep it in perspective. This is a phenomenal Indian side who, all things being equal, will find their way into the World Test Championship final against Australia. Different conditions, different country, neutral surface at the Oval and all the rest of it. But still, don't diminish for a moment what a powerhouse this Indian side have been and how well they played to go 2-0 up in this series.
So in terms of the surfaces that get played on, I saw Rohit Sharma in his post-match stuff saying we talk about the pitch too much and we think about the pitch too much. in India, that's because the Indian captain decides what kind of pitch they're going to get. I mean,
the curator wears the national uniform,
right,
you know,
you can't say that we're thinking about the surface too much if you're also thinking about the surface all the time and what kind of surface you want to play on. So the question that people are asking is, do they roll out a flat pitch where their spinners' quality will tell over the longer period of time and their top order might actually be able to make some runs? But I think that could work in Australia's favour because India's top order bats haven't been playing long innings.
Yeah.
They haven't been playing 5-day test matches. They haven't been making 550 scores. Remembering how to do that is a skill in itself. Like you've got to be in the right frame of mind. You've got to be physically trained to do it because it's physically exhausting to, say, bat for a day and a half. The Australians have actually been doing that more recently than the Indians have because through the home Australian summer where they dominated, there were a lot of long innings batted, whether that be Travis Head, whether that be Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, so on. They've actually got the recent training to bat for a couple of days more than the Indian team does. So I think that if they did go with a flat one, that might end up backfiring again. I reckon they're better off to just double down with the turning wicket and say, sure, okay, we've lost one of the 3 we've lost in the last 10 years. Probability says that we're not going to lose the next one. If you give us 2 in a row on these surfaces, we're not going to lose 2 in a row.
I think there's a small distinction there between what we saw at Indore and what we saw at Nagpur and Delhi.
Massively, yeah.
And I think that, as I think I said on yesterday's show with Bharat, this was the pitch that felt most like a lottery of the 3, where skill was least a factor in your survival at the crease. And that's not diminishing what Usman Khawaja and what Cheteshwar Pujara, who passed 50, and indeed Travis said on the final day, making an unbeaten 49, did. It's just acknowledging that a number of players, including Pujara in the first innings, for example, it got balls that were effectively unplayable. So I would say
that making 60 was a match-winning innings.
Absolutely. I think personally that it'd be better to roll out the flat one. It's a good point you raised. They don't play a lot of Ranji Trophy cricket, the Indian side, Pujara notwithstanding. Really. Some of them do, but not bulk of it because there's a lot of white ball commitments around the country. Like Ishan Kishan played some Ranji Trophy earlier this year to get himself in lights, but he's not been selected in the series. Shreyas Iyer was playing Ranji Trophy last season, but taken as a whole, you're right, the Aussies have had more experience in conditions that are what we're discussing here, but I do think the risk profile on getting on another turning one and making Matthew Kuhnemann look like Matai Muralidharan is probably too heavily skewed in favour of risk, and I would think that mitigating that and letting Kohli, who may not have done it recently, but this guy's made like 7 double hundreds in Test cricket or something ridiculous. He has got the ability to do it. Pujara likewise has done it 5 times, I think, at Test level. So if I were them, I'd be thinking flat surface, attritional, drag it out, and indeed if it happened to be a draw, improbable as that is in India, we don't get many draws in this part of the world, that'll also be sufficient to get them through to the WTC final.
Yeah, and win the series.
Series, yeah.
So, I mean, India would be happy with either. I like the fact that Matthew Kuhnemann's Queensland teammates nicknamed him Jadeja years ago. And now he's playing against him. Needs to work on the batting and the fielding a bit, Kuhnemann, I think, to try to get
they call him Jaddu, don't they?
Jaddu,
they really make a point of, in the nets, they really make a big point of that. Certainly when we were in Sri Lanka last year, watching the Australian Test team play there, they were calling him Jaddu all over again. So, that's worth noting.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on from that, you spoke to Alex Carey this morning.
I did.
I mean, the Australians would obviously be buoyant at the moment, but a very short amount of time before they've got to get their heads down and try to do it again.
I don't think we spoke enough about Alex Carey at the end of this Test match. Like, KS Bharat didn't have as good a Test series he did at Nagpur or Delhi. Missed a couple of half opportunities. Carey, that first stumping off Rohit Sharma proved decisive, especially after India got off to that flyer, had to go up high, took it in the webbing of his left gloves. His right glove, I should say. You can see a world where he doesn't complete that stumping and Rohit's 140 not out at stumps or something like that. You can conceive of that scenario. So, I mean, improbable, but we have seen him make big scores on turning tracks before, including at Chennai in the second Test against England a couple of years ago. So he's got the skill set to find a way in those circumstances, and Carey didn't let him. So he's chuffed to have kept so well. He's got the monkey off the back, got a stumping for the first time in the second innings at Delhi. Now he's got 2 of them, finally. He did talk a little bit about how he wasn't completely satisfied with the way he was dismissed at Indore. I think you'll see Carey sweeping again next week. He I think probably overcorrected himself because we've discussed sweeping and the pitfalls for those who aren't maybe temperamentally well suited to it or their skills aren't aligned with it. Like say Stephen Smith, who doesn't sweep an awful lot. He was out that way in the second innings at Delhi. Carey's the other side of it. Carey sweeps all the time, no matter where he is.
Loves
So
to sweep, and that's not
like
an
him,
India thing.
No, it's an anywhere thing.
Remember him in 2018 in the UAE coming into the T20 side, being asked to open against Imad Wasim, the Pakistani left-arm spinner, and he was immediately reversing and sweeping conventionally and unconventionally, both sides of the wicket in the first over, and he did that routinely. That was his method 5 years ago, and that's his method now.
Yeah, so I quite like this from him today. He's kind of acknowledging that where Stephen Smith was happy getting at the way he got out of the Indore, playing forward to a ball that's turned prodigiously but covering his off stump. That's really mature from Smith. I think it's also actually mature from Carey, saying that my best chance of success with the blade is to play the horizontal bat shots, getting down low and sweeping both conventionally and with the reverse. So I think that's mature from both players.
Yeah, just don't play the reverse from outside the line of off stump, leaving all three stumps exposed behind your leg.
Yeah, that's suboptimal.
Just not. Yeah, you can see all three, probably problems there.
And also hearing Carey talk about playing with these spinners like Nathan Lyon, who's so trusting in his stock delivery, Todd Murphy, who's got a more diverse range of options, and he's got to have his nerve. He's got to pick the ball as well, right? I mean, Carey keeping the Todd Murphy is not easy.
But also, but it's weird that I feel like he's barely bowled. He's barely been seen
under-bowled
after that first Test match, because he comes in, he takes his 7 wickets. It's like you've had a really great first date, everything's clicking, and then you're just getting like 2-word texts back. And it's like, where's he gone?
Well, the role that they're using him for is to hold up an end and to help Lyon rotate through. Remember, he actually bowled more overs than Lyon at Nagpur.
Yeah.
So that's corrected itself with Lyon bowling, taking a 5 for at Delhi. One of the best 8-fers you'll see at Indore, was at 11 for the match. So he kind of is the third spinner in a way, because they use Kuhneman up top to move the ball the other way. Yeah. So you can see how, and I think Smith used
Kuhneman's the Scott Boland of spin, in a way. Like just the holding roll, sit at an end, hit a length, and then
when he gets his length right, he's very effective. And with Murphy, it's like, well, he's a bit of a luxury item, but he had He conceded 16 runs in 14 overs in that second innings. He never let them get on top of him, and that helped build the pressure that Lyon was making the most of down the other end.
Do you think Todd Murphy and Akshar Patel are just hanging out? They keep getting picked, don't get asked to bowl very much, face a few balls with the bat. This
is Akshar's time to shine. Akshar's played 2 test matches at Ahmedabad, took 20 wickets at an average of 9.3, including 2 6-fers and a 5-fer. If anyone is going to run amok for India at Ahmedabad, it's going to be the left-arm sweeper.
But isn't it bizarre that he's, what was it, 9 test matches, 47 wickets, and he's taken 1 in this series.
Yeah,
played 3 tests and taken 1 wicket in the series. You talk about reverting to the mean. That's up here and then down there. It's been extraordinary.
And his batting's been, he had 2 red inkers in this test match, which means his batting average is somewhere around 90 for the series, which is an outlier too, because usually you wouldn't get as much red ink as he's got in the series. But credit to him, he's been brilliant. So Akshar Patel delivered with the bat, and I expect he'll have more work with the ball this week. I saw a photo from Ahmedabad with the long lens this morning. You can't make much of it, but I'm sure that guy in the BCCI Indian team uniform, the head curator, will be out there over the next day or 2. But the word from the ground was that they want to prepare a good test wicket, so they're not giving much away.
Okay, a good test wicket. A good T20 wicket last night for the Women's IPL opener with Gujarat versus the other team whose name I don't remember.
I think Mumbai played them, didn't they? Yeah.
And Harmanpreet doing Harmanpreet things and just absolutely teeing off. So massive score, well over 200 in the first innings. Beth Mooney getting injured, which is a massive blow for Gujarat, because they pretty much built their whole team around Mooney, and she's got a shoulder problem now. Whether she'll be able to continue, I'm not sure. But it was good that there were fireworks. You needed that for the opener to kick things off and really see some fast scoring.
It wasn't quite Brendan McCullum and the 13 sixes and the 158 from the first night of the IPL, but there are some similarities there. In that game all those years ago, I think they made 222, if I recall correctly, and bowled out their opposition for 80 odd. Sharav Ganguly 2 for 21. And as McCullum took down Ashley Nofke and a range of others, Brett and I were looking through the scorecard last night during the WPL opener and drawing that distinction where Harmanpreet has played in innings that, and Hayley Matthews, to her credit, who's been blowing hot and cold in the last couple of years, she made 47 in a hurry too. So 2 national captains delivering on opening night. That's exactly what this is meant to be all about. The congregation of talent here in India being paid the big bucks, and hopefully over the next 20 group games they generate enormous TV numbers around the world, and these players locally as well can get the platform that can take them to the next level.
I think that's final word enough from us. If you want to follow the rest of our shows, find audio podcasts. Look up your audio podcast feed to find a word. Not everything goes on video. Only some stuff goes on here. Other shows go on there.
Last night we made an episode at a hotel
We did.
in India called the
Park.
the Park Hotel in Indore, and
We were not staying at because we can't afford it.
we had 7 people recording with us. You'll have it is on video. You'll have to.
It'll go up maybe in a couple of days. I'll work that
But
one
in the
out.
meantime, you can listen to the audio. That's up already.
Yep.
It's called Storytime. It's our history show. And everything we make in India is for our friends at the Visit Melbourne campaign. Visit
That's it.
Victoria, Visit Melbourne. We're from Melbourne, as Brat and I were saying yesterday. Ed Sheeran, 110,000 people at the MCG last night after 106,000 people the night before. Melbourne is the cultural hub of Australia. Twice as many concert tickets are sold a year in Melbourne compared to Sydney, and that's why, because people love coming out and doing things. You can be part of that as well. Melbourne International Comedy Festival coming up.
Yep.
Jeff used to be involved in the festival scene when you worked in poetry.
Yep.
And of course the MCG, what a coliseum it is and what a place it is to visit and see sporting events, be it cricket or footy or whatever else is going on there through the year.
The cultural hub of Australia. You might not be able to stand in the middle of a roundabout while everybody blasts their horns at you, but you can do a lot of other things as well. All right, that's enough from us. Jeff Lemon, Adam Collins from the Rajwada Palace in the middle of Indore. We will see you in Ahmedabad.
Bye.